presenting The Wave by LA Top Team.
Welcome back to the most entertaining real estate show online. Thank you for coming back and listening to another episode. This is episode 2. Pretty much normal life for me, just going through my week. Got a couple projects finishing up, trying to implement some of the new goals I set for myself with the new year that just turned, and just like the rest of you guys, making it happen this week. Last show, we had Jason Schnitzer on, the Realtor Ninja. Great interview with him. Really enjoyed speaking to him about real estate, hunting, jiu-jitsu, college sports, all of that. A big takeaway that I had from that interview was his wish I knew then, which is basically you can't get deals without putting in the work, no matter how you choose to source the deals. If you don't do the necessary things to generate those leads are never going to come, and I think that kind of gets forgotten. Another takeaway was that even the successful people in this industry still do what needs to be done. I mean, he's been in it close to a decade, and he still door knocks, so that tells you something. That's what I took away from it. I'd love to hear what you guys thought of it. You can always leave your feedback in the comment section of the platform that you're listening. You can send us an email, or you can leave us a comment on social media. But if you've got any thoughts on that episode, let us know. This week's Titan Tools is another pretty basic tool I'm sure a lot of you use, and most of you have definitely heard of. It's called Squarespace. Squarespace is a fairly robust website builder made for the everyday person. I use it to run the podcast website, run my personal website, and I update those websites both weekly and monthly. So it's a resource that I use a lot, and it's something that has allowed me to create my own websites. I'm not exactly the most tech-savvy guy with coding and everything like that, but with Squarespace and implementing that into my marketing, I've been able to update my website and, for the most part, make it look exactly how I want to. If you have some basic coding experience, you can do an even better job of customizing Squarespace and making it do exactly what you want it to do. It does cost, hosting through them is, I think, $14 or $15 a month, something like that. I think I was paying $100 outside of it, and they were hosting a few websites for me, $100 a year. So I don't know if it's a better deal financially, but I don't have to pay a web developer for everything, only half the stuff or less than half of the stuff, because most of the changes I can do myself because of the interface. As always, if you want to see me sample it and the way I use it, and maybe see some of the ways that I update the website, I will be posting videos on social media. So make sure that you follow us on social media, and you'll be able to see exactly how I implement the tool into my everyday business. If you enjoy my buttery soft voice melting all over your ears and into your brains, be sure to give us some positive feedback wherever your platform. Be sure to give us some positive feedback on whatever platform you're listening. It helps get the good news out to more folks about the show and helps with our placement on the respective search engines. I'm putting my heart into this, so if it's something you enjoy, please take a second to give some positive feedback and let us know. We always love interacting with you guys in your daily lives on social media, so check us out on Instagram and Snapchat for some solid entertainment and resourceful knowledge. Having mentioned both of those two, I should remind all of you guys that our contest to give away an entire starter kit for podcasting is ticking away. We're 1 week into it. We got 4 more weeks to go. Want to remind you guys to enter. You just have to do the 2 things I mentioned above, which is give us some feedback on iTunes and make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Remember, our website, Million Ways Podcast, is updated weekly with a ton of content. That's the best place to find full episodes, segments of episodes, video, and also exclusive subscription-only interviews and content that gets released a couple times a month that I don't put out for the normal podcast listeners. For anything and everything else, you can always send us an email to info@millionwayspodcast.com. Make sure you guys stick around after the interview, because we're going to have, as always, the title tip and the Realtor of the Week. This week, I had a chance to interview Sean Calcagnie. Sean Calcagnie is an ex-college football player. He and I played together at USC. He played offense, I played defense, but we spent quite a bit of time together and kind of hung around the same group of friends. He's been involved in real estate basically since he was 18. He graduated high school, went to college, and studied real estate in college, where he graduated and started writing loans and then eventually got into real estate himself. He's had a really interesting path in getting to where he's at, and it's been a really quick path to a really cool spot in real estate. He builds houses at this point, and he's really good at it. Really, really good at it. I'll let him explain more in the interview. What he's done is really awesome, and I wanted to bring him on the show so that you guys can hear how he's done it in a short matter of time and been able to do what a lot of us aspire to do, which is envision a project and build it from the ground up. He's a pretty humble guy. I guess what you should listen out for on this episode is in the beginning, I mentioned he was all-state and a state leader in rushing and all that. He was an absolute awesome football player coming out of high school. Held a lot of state records for a long, long time and still has numbers that would impress anybody. So I guess that's one really quirky thing about Sean is, aside from being really good on the real estate field, he was really good on the football field. Go ahead and jump into the interview, and then we'll check in with you guys right after for the title tip and the Realtor of the Week. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of A Million Ways to Get It. This is your host, Ryan, here on a beautiful, beautiful autumn day. Did some surfing this morning, and now I'm here talking to all you awesome folks, along with this week's guest, Sean Calcagnie. How you doing today, Sean?
Good, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show.
Of course, of course.
So go ahead and tell the listeners where you're from, where you're operating out of, and where your home base is.
Right now, home base is down in Irvine, California, Orange County. Born and raised right here in Mission Viejo. And, just after college, came down, migrated south again, and just hit the ground running. So can't be too upset living close to the water, and great opportunity down here.
Yeah, and for you listeners, Sean and I also met in college at USC. He was a football player as well. Kind of a fun fact. I mean, it was fun for me because he and I are both similar, just standard, 6 foot, white guy, standard hair. And I remember when I first got to school, someone told me, dude, you need to look up this guy's highlight tape. And I went home and I typed in Sean Calcagnie highlights. If you guys want to do it, go ahead. And I was absolutely floored. I didn't know that was really possible or if anyone had done anything like that. But it turns out Sean was actually the California state leader for rushing for, I don't know, a few years. I don't know if he still holds it, but he's one of the most decorated running backs to ever come out of the state of California. Fun fact about Sean Calcagnie. Yeah, I went to high school down there in Orange County, right? Where'd you go?
Yeah.
Tesoro, right?
Tesoro High School. So it's kind of in between Santa Margarita and Mission Viejo. Those are kind of two other pinnacle high schools. They kind of run with that Orange County, modern days, all the private schools down there. So, yeah.
I think they're a current powerhouse. They always bring the heat on the field, it seems.
Yeah, they've been off and on for a few years. I think they're rebuilding right now, but, they draw from a great crowd. People are very, they're dialed in when it comes to training the kids and, just getting full on board and buying into football. So it's fun atmosphere come Friday night.
Yeah, Orange County definitely takes their youth sports and training seriously.
Yeah.
So we go from Tesoro to USC. At SC, you played football.
Correct.
You're a business major, right?
No, I actually went in as an econ major. And then my sophomore year, I switched it up and went to public policy planning management, and I got an emphasis in real estate development.
Cool. So you were basically getting schooled in real estate at SC. So you've been kind of in it since you were 19. You said a sophomore, right?
Yeah. It was kind of a unique time, back in 08, 09. Obviously, we hit the recession, and I knew the finance side was going to pick up before the developing. So I wanted to kind of go down the financing route, learn about the institutional lending, private lending, because I just knew coming out in 2010 when I graduated that things were going to be a little bit more difficult. So, they always say cash is king. Get in touch with the people that have the cash, and then you can play from there.
So since you studied real estate, did you jump directly into real estate right after school?
So I actually, coming out, I had previously interned with this small shop. We were a wealth management company at the time. And, 2010 comes around, I graduate, and he goes, go get your real estate license. I'm like, all right. So I pair up with this guy who had just left Bank of America at the time, doing a lot of the private wealth management, which is now Merrill Lynch. And we're starting to pull our monies out of the stock market. My partner managed a stock and bond portfolio, and he's like, I just can't be losing our clients' money. And we were looking for alternative investments at the time, and we started seeing people couldn't get loans at the banks. You saw a lot of flipping going on, so we're like, all right, there is some opportunity to kind of maybe start lending out to the consumers and making a little bit of profit on it. So we went in that direction early on and started just seeing everyday transactions, getting involved, talking to people, and just kind of networking. And that's how we started to really start to grow.
Mm-hmm. So that's how you got started in it. And you started out financing on that side?
Yep.
Cool. And when did you start getting your hands on some real estate and actually flipping homes yourself? Because that's how I met or did my first transaction. Actually, I'll get into that right after.
Yeah. So we, like I said, we were doing a lot of hard money loans at the time, which is just private bridge loans. And we were lending out to a lot of flippers, like Brea, West LA, North Orange County, just all these short sales, REOs were just coming to market. I mean, it was pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. And these flippers, we were funding this small group. They were located at Brea, and they were doing about 5 flips a month. And my partner and I just started seeing what was going on. We're like, dude, these guys are just killing it right now. And we started just walking the job sites with them, and it was incredible what they were doing. I mean, they were taking these dilapidated houses and just, making them like what you see on HGTV with like Property Brothers, Flip or Flop. I mean, it was just, they would gut it completely, hardwood flooring, new cabinets, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. And my partner looked at me and he's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, dude, we need to do this. And he's like, okay. He's like, go get me some real estate. So I literally, for about a year and a half, I would come in the office and I'd pump out 5 offers before lunchtime. And, I was in full acquisition mode. I just wanted to get anything I could get my hands on. And, I'd probably say like 75% of those offers didn't even, make it to the agents or the seller's eyes. But I was just so determined to, get those properties. And I would say in that first year and a half, I was able to acquire about a dozen of them just in-house for ourselves. And my partner's old man just so happened to be a general contractor, and my cousins were general contractors. So we had that family connection going, and it was definitely like a little bit of a learning curve and, step-by-step hand-holding process. But, once we were able to kind of tighten up our numbers, I can just get into a property. I know what our budget's going to be, what our costs are going to be. And I just, I really started to grasp and understand the construction side of things. And, in real estate, you just got to keep adapting to the market, where it's going to go, what's the new trend. And that's how we just kind of started rolling with it. And, we just became our own flippers at that point, and we just stopped lending to other flippers because we're like, we don't need you guys anymore.
Right.
So
instead of making a little bit on the loan, you said we're going to make the lot of bit on doing it all.
Exactly. And so, as opposed to just, collecting the interest payments every month, we wanted to get our hands on the equity on the backside. And we were able to leverage our investors and keep them happy at the same time. We were offering them, 10, 11, 12% monthly on, on the project or on their principal investment too. And so, it really worked out well. I mean, it was a good way to kind of earn fast cash, deepen our pockets a little bit and give us an opportunity to make a name for ourselves and, look for those alternative investments.
Right. And that brings us to the year, like 2013, 14 now?
Yeah, I'd say that was all the way up till about end of 2013, start of 2014. this is when we were looking at, we were noticing like in LA, Newport Beach, people were just going in and tearing down a lot of infill projects.
Mm-hmm.
They were just knocking down these old 1930, 1940, 1950 houses and
Mm-hmm.
building ground up. And, that was kind of a big risk. We were like, okay, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of more crews you have to bring on. It's just not us and our GC. So we kind of, unexpectedly got into a development deal through a hard money loan. And long story short, we funded this contractor who was trying to rebuild his own house at the time. And, he ended up just, defaulting on his loan. He went on 8-month unpaid interest, and we just came in and go, look, we're going to have to just kind of foreclose on you, but we want to take care of you. Let us take over this deal. And he goes, okay, that's fine. I got all the plans approved. Here they are. And he gives us the plans, and they were like 5 years old. And we're like, oh, great. So we actually ended up hiring like an architect, civil engineer, structural engineer, soils engineer, GC. And we're like, okay, let's just create this new one. So we just knocked it down, built our brand new house. And, while we're in the construction phase, we start seeing people coming up to us going like, hey, what would you pay for our house? Would you buy this one? Can you do it here? And we're like, yeah, let's do this. So we made some good money on that first one. We just started kind of getting this, these off-market deals in this small little niche in LA. And, that was 3 years ago. And, now we've hit the, we're just pumping these things out like every 6 to 8 months now.
Right. I think, perfect time for a side note. I think that was around the time where I was calling you because I knew you had some success in acquisitions, and I was just finishing up, kind of working with my mom and Esther, and I said, I want to do some sort of real estate. So I gave the guests a little bit of background about how I got into it, and I started calling around, and Sean goes, yeah, I got this house I'm looking at. If you want to, I think we're going to acquire it. If you want to help me, manage the construction, I'll co-list it with you. And that was actually my first deal that I got, like, going in real estate. Maybe he can tell you otherwise, but as far as I know, I did a dog shit job on helping him. I learned a ton, but I really, I mostly learned that I got to be there better, got to be more hands-on, and yeah, I really appreciate him bringing me into that one. Super side note, but yeah, I got thrown a big bone on that one, so thanks to Sean.
Yeah. No, that was a fun deal. I mean, that was just your traditional fix and flip. And, that was a very transitional neighborhood. I mean, you were there. It was pretty rough, but you could see the money getting poured into that small neighborhood. And I mean, it was like 5 minutes just outside of USC.
Yep.
A lot of people were fixing, flipping, and, making good money. And I think you brought that deal to me. And the first time I walked it, I just like hated it. I'm like, nah, that's not a deal. And then you're like, take a look at it again. And I think we closed that thing up right around Christmas time.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, the market must have jumped like 20% in about 6 months, or like 5 months. And but yeah, that was we did an unbelievable job turning that thing, fix and flipping it. But I mean, I don't know if your listeners know, but we had like several break-ins. We had, homeless people sleeping inside of it.
Yep. Yes.
Stealing appliances every night that they could get their hands on it. I mean, it was.
We were having trouble having a trash truck come pick up the trash. They were like, "We don't want to come that way." Yeah. It got rough, but man, you went into something you thought was going to be thin, and you did a spectacular job fixing it up and listing it and showing me the proper process of listing. And man, you did really well on that one. The spread on that was definitely worth the time. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, in real estate, you get lucky. It's all about timing. Mm-hmm. It really is. And, I think when we first projected the exit on that one, I was projecting like 550,000, like best case scenario. And we ended up like selling it for, I believe, like 635. So, I mean, it was almost like another 100,000 on top of what
we were expecting. So, I mean, that was a good little pop right there.
Exactly. And our listeners have an idea of how hard that area is hitting because you remember Marshall Jones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I had him on the show as a guest, and he's actually doing commercial real estate over there, 5-unit and bigger apartment buildings.
Nice. Yeah.
And he just got into working in that area about a year ago, and your flip was 2014, so it's been hitting really hard continually since then, and it's continuing to grow. So talk about being on the front end of the curve. Hats off to you on that one.
I mean, yeah, but dude, you're the one that brought the deal, so.
Yeah. Hey, so that was 2014. You guys were doing a lot of flips, and this is now almost 2017. So what are you doing now? You're a broker now, right? You've got your brokers.
Yeah, I got my broker's license last year, and now I've been kind of just building out a team, and we've been really hitting this development wave. And right now we currently have 21 developments in play. My partner and we've gone out and raised, I think we're working about like $42 million that we have out in property and like in construction. So I think, knock on wood, we are hoping for another good year and a half that the residential market kind of stays strong. I think there's a lot of economic factors that are going on. Obviously, you got the election coming up. You have Brexit. You've had all the hype about interest rates being raised. I just don't see the Fed raising rates anytime soon. And historically speaking, it doesn't matter who gets elected in office, the market tends to go up a little bit after the election. So I think we do have some good, positive factors on our side, but, you're constantly adapting. As a development, kind of a long-term strategy, absolutely not. But, we're on that forefront. We're constantly forecasting like what the next opportunity, the next play is. And I think we'll be fine. But yeah, just to kind of answer your question, right now we are kind of heavily invested into spec developments. So just ground up construction, building, nice single family homes. In the LA side, we're targeting West LA, Studio City, and we're kind of have adapted this track builders mentality. So, you got Shea Homes, D.R. Horton, Toll Brothers. We're building a lot of these spec homes. I mean, they're 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 3,000 square foot, but we're rolling the same plans into every deal. So, we're changing the floor plan a little bit, but aesthetically, we're going Cape Cod. Some of them are modern, but it's just kind of, we're, like I said earlier, we really buttoned down our numbers, and we know our, our hard costs, our soft costs into every deal. And so it's kind of, we're making this very, very simple on the financing side. So it's really helping us out. And, our projections are coming, they're coming around. And so it's good.
Good, man. And what would you say is the average resale or retail price of your project when you get done? Upwards of $1 million?
A little higher. So right now, West LA, we're in that $2 million and up. So the homes that we're building are kind of that luxury entry level. They're not, super high end. We are going like custom cabinetry, hardwood flooring. We're going Thermador, Sub-Zero appliances. I mean, we're putting like really nice stuff in there. The Studio City stuff, we've gone as high as about $3 million. Down in Newport, we're in that $3 million realm. And then we have a few in kind of a nicer area of Newport, and we're targeting like $4 million and up in there.
0 to 100 real quick.
Yeah.
Dang, that's what I'm talking about, Sean. So if someone wants to connect with you, ask you a question, partner with you on a deal, see if they can lend you some money if you need any money or anything like that, is there a website, an Instagram handle? What's the best way to get in touch with you or your company?
Yeah, so right now, my company is called the Calcagnie Group. That's CALCAGNIE group, and I have calcagniegroup.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, just Calcagnie Group. You get all my information, my email, my cell phone number, fax. If you tune into Instagram, I'm constantly showing, I try and do as best as possible showing, daily site visits of me walking job sites, showing the production, showing the renderings of our upcoming houses, and then through construction, obviously like the final product. So, I'm always looking at JV, always looking for new capital. In real estate, it's the networking. It's all about who you know. It's just making those connections, constantly learning every day. And, we're finding out that we get a lot of our stuff now just off market. It's people just sending us stuff via email, cell phone, or, texting us like, hey, I got a deal, take a look at it. And that's how we're acquiring a lot of our properties right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you've been in the game and people see that you can do it right, they're going to continue to bring you some good deals.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if there's any listeners that, maybe want to think about doing this development thing like you, or maybe hear what you're doing and they're interested in it, why don't you give them an idea? Because it sounds fun and it sounds easy, but give the listeners an idea of what sort of management that takes of workers and how many guys you have on, on your payroll or not on your payroll, however you do it. You said something like 20-some guys or something, right?
Yeah, right now, so we have, just like in our office right now, we have 11 guys. We work with 4 general contractors, and each one of our general contractors, they have their team as well. But, to answer your question, the development, everyone thinks like, oh, wow, this is the greatest, but they only think of, what they see on TV, like picking out the finishes and like designing the rooms. It's literally construction management 101. You're constantly grinding, these subs that you're contracting to handle your framing, your foundation, your plumbing, your electrical, like everything. It's like, you got to be into it with them, and they're going to go butt heads with you at times. But if you have a good system, you have a good team, and everyone knows their role, these things can happen. They can do well, and they can be a great product, but it's a little bit of a learning curve. And for people who try and get into it, I always tell them, like, look, if you have the capital, it always helps to kind of bring a mentor on, or bring someone who's done it, that has a track record, and kind of learn the ropes, and then go off and do it yourself. Because it was a big learning curve, and we've had the right people to help us and guide us and get us there. But make no mistake, we've learned our lessons in a lot of stuff. I've been burned for several thousands of dollars because I paid a contractor up front, or I paid a guy up front only to find out that he left that company and just walked with the money. So it's you got to account for these little things, and once you get your crews dialed in, you don't have those issues anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's a little bit of a wake-up call.
Have you found in that acquisition period, and you were just writing contracts like crazy? I'm actually kind of there myself. I write a ton of contracts.
Yeah.
And I found some tweaks that really helped me get my offers seen over some others, and I'd mentioned them on previous podcasts. That being, I always make my contract non-assignable, and I like to do it in a trust rather than an LLC.
Yeah.
It just makes people feel a little bit more confident. And I also do a reasonable inspection period of 10 days and then a close of, 10 to 14. Do you kind of stick along those lines and find it works for you, or what's something that you do that you find is successful?
Yeah, usually my first go-to is talking to the agent and learning about the seller. It's all about it's understanding the seller's needs and finding that medium. And I always ask, like, how motivated are they? And if they're extremely motivated, then yes, they want that quicker close. They want the shorter inspection period. But sometimes these people have been there for a long time. They're a little bit more emotional on the purchase or the sell. And sometimes, like, it takes a little longer for me to assume my financing. So I put a little bit in my favor, but without them knowing that, I will say, like, hey, we can do a longer close, like a 2-month, which gives me an opportunity to, get in there, get all my financing, do all my due diligence, and kind of like inspect the property. Also, I've noticed that, if they're being a little rough, I'll increase the deposit. I'll do maybe like 3% up front, and then, after the inspection period, I'll, waive all my contingencies and increase the deposit. Mm-hmm. And that kind of will relieve some stress on their end, because now they're like, okay, this guy, just put down $20,000 or $50,000 in deposit, like he's not going to let this deal go down. And it's more or less like finding what the seller ultimately wants and coming to agreement and just making your offer very attractive. And like you said, sometimes, they don't want to see the LLCs or the corporations on the contract. They want to see an individual. And, we have gone down that route where I put a contract in my name, and, because then they'll think, okay, this guy wants it for himself. And maybe I did, I don't know. But it's just, getting the agent to kind of open up and be like, okay, what does your client want? I know where I stand. I know what my bottom line is. Here's, it's an investment at the end of the day for me. So it's a numbers game. And, whether it's an increased deposit or what, it's like, I know what money I need to put in and what's going to be put in. So it's just how it gets there. So it's just making it very attractive.
Definitely. So obviously you've got all these systems in place that help you do what you do. Is your day-to-day mostly spent kind of tending to those 6 or 7 different burners that you have? Burners being, lead intake, lead management, and then construction. Or do you like spending your days doing something like out in the field or calling realtors, or do you enjoy running it all? What's kind of your...
Yeah, I mean, my typical day-to-day, I get bombarded with a lot of paperwork. It's mainly just getting invoices from contractors, paying the bills, and then it's getting out there. I make my site visits. I go and just kind of check in. I check in with my GC a lot, and I say like, hey, where are we at with scheduling? What do you need? Do we need step lights this week? Do we need to order cabinets? Do we need to get the flooring? It's just understanding that we're all on the same page. I mean, communication is key in this business. So yeah, I do make my site visits probably about twice a week. The other 3 days, I'm kind of just in the office, and I'm either sourcing new deals or honestly, I'm going out and reaching out and meeting new people. Mainly just trying to, get that forecast. I like to see what everyone is thinking and saying. I think the more the better player you are in this game. And it's, I'm always going to, realtors. I'm asking, what are you guys seeing? You guys have the listings. Is the market softening? And, just today, I had got off the gal before you called. She's like, oh, I just locked up an $8.5 million offer on my Laguna Beach listing. So I'm like, okay, you know what? There's an $8.5 million buyer out there. So the market's still strong in coastal cities. So it's just kind of like, getting those reinforcements and also just being a student and, just listening. It's just constant listening. And, that's kind of like my day-to-day and weekly schedule.
Awesome. Well, let's move into sort of the conclusion of the show where you get into pro tips or things that you would wish you had knew when you got into the industry that you may not have known and that you know now.
Kind of pro tips. Wish I knew. I wish I kind of knew a little bit more of construction, getting out there, being able to kind of like, also kind of have that architecture background, being more like an artist and kind of, I've noticed that some of our stronger GCs, they're able to like walk the job and know exactly, how many bedrooms, what the square footage will be. And they just already have that vision where it's like, me, I like to kind of like write things down. I like to see it on paper. So I wish I had kind of more of that, that artist trait, so to speak, and just knowing construction in general. Like I sometimes think maybe I could go back, get my general contractor's license, and really start to kind of take this process on myself and not have to pay for it. And I do like, as much as I was, kind of talking negatively about it, I do like being on the job site and talking with the crews and, doing the whole scheduling. I love the pre-planning. I love sitting down with the architects and, having everyone put together their vision and just taking the best of everyone's thoughts and ideas and just putting it together. And I would say, that's kind of things I wish I knew heading into it, because you and me both, we just had that sports mentality, and it was just like, we're team players, we have that competitive edge, and we're able to apply it. But, it's just kind of having, also like marketing too. I wish I was a little bit more handy on, the marketing side of things. Understanding, how you can back end stuff off your website, your Instagram, and like putting all these tools to help kind of brand yourself a little bit better.
Those are some good things to know. I know you mentioned when you heard that there was the $8.5 million offer that you said it clicked in your head that there must be, a pretty strong, still a strong push by buyers out on the coastal regions. What do you think is going to happen with the real estate market here in the next 3 years or so? If you had to, yes.
Yeah, I think what I've been hearing lately, and kind of like my 2 cents, is I do think the market will be good for another like year and a half, and then I do think we're going to probably see prices kind of just go like plateau a little bit, just remain stagnant. I just don't see us ever getting into that great recession again, where prices just absolutely tanked. They might dip a little bit, but I do think the commercial realm is kind of the next wave or the next trend. A lot of people are dipping into commercial, multifamily, what have you. But obviously commercial, I think it's a little inflated too. You're getting a lot of foreign investors coming over here. It just, they're weeding the smaller guys out because they're buying up these commercial deals at like a 3 cap, where we have to get excited over a 5 cap.
Mm-hmm.
I say cap rate, capitalization rate.
Yeah, Marshall had touched on that last. Those are the exact numbers he used too on the last episode. So talk about correlation.
Yeah, so I think in the next 3 years, I think the commercial industry is going to be getting very competitive. And I think with the residential market, I've always been that firm believer in inflation and appreciation alone. I mean, just look over, the last, 15 years. I mean, if you go back to 06, 07, if you're pulling title records of when these houses were selling, in some markets, we're not even at that 06, 07 pricing. So to think it's like, the cost of dollar just keeps going up. People are making more money. I really strongly believe that home values are going to continually go up regardless. And that's like I said, I don't think prices are ever going to just drop significantly like they did back in 08, 09, 2010. So that's kind of like my 2 cents.
I'm definitely going to take that as gold. What do you think about competition? I was thinking the competition is actually going to heat up with a bunch of tech savvy people getting into the game, thinking I see a lot of other people making money and I'm good at tech. So I'm going to figure out how to leverage both and do the same.
Yeah, definitely. The tech industry and what they're doing up in San Francisco and all the venture capital that's out there, it's definitely creating a very competitive environment in real estate. And, just in general, people are getting more knowledgeable about real estate markets just because you have websites like Trulia, Zillow, Redfin. I mean, people are able to go online and see what's active, like what their house is worth, and educate themselves. And it's both good and bad. From an investment standpoint, I think, you're seeing these shows like HGTV, like I mentioned earlier, like Property Brothers, Flip or Flop. And it's kind of giving these people like a sense of hope, like, hey, you know what, I can get that financial freedom. If I make some money, I can maybe go and buy my own flip, or I can go and buy a rental property and cash flow it. So I do think the competition is definitely going to heat up over the next 10 years just because of the tech industry and how much information is out there now. And, just in being in real estate only 6 years, it's amazing what resources are around me now. Back then I was grinding out the MLS and, I had no idea, what I was really doing. But now it's like I have so many different, I have like spreadsheets, I have like pro formas, and it's like these are all, available online. And it's really making the average consumer, very threatening in terms of getting into this environment. So,
100% agree. 100% agree.
yeah.
On a personal level, where do you see yourself in 3 years? Do you want to be living here in Southern California? Do you still want to be working? Do you want to make your money and be out of the game? Talk to me about it.
In 3 years, I see myself just kind of, still in real estate, just, looking for that investment. It's funny, I was talking to one of my partners the other day, and I said, I think I'm going to be doing this until I'm like 80 years old, because, I used to get fired up for a game, like come Friday or Saturday, you get those juices flowing, and you get that adrenaline rush. And now it's like, I get like an adrenaline rush, like running a pro forma, like doing underwriting. It's, it just kind of, it gets the blood flow going through. And I just don't ever see myself kind of venturing away from real estate. I do want to I do think it'd be fun to become like an entrepreneur and, kind of build up enough capital to become a venture capitalist and invest into like other people's businesses and what have you, and just be an investor by trade. But I just think real estate is always going to kind of stick with me.
Right, because it gives you that little fix.
Yeah, correct.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for getting on the show and educating our listeners about maybe your path and the way you did it in real estate, and giving them some ideas and maybe some outlets that they can seek out to add some more cash flow to their life.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, and it was good catching up. We gotta get together one of these days and go for some deals.
Yeah, definitely, man. I know Marshall's going to be going to the Oregon and Notre Dame game. You got any plans to get to any SC games this year?
I went to that Utah State one. I've passed up on a few of the last Saturdays, but yeah, we got to get up there and tailgate and relive the glory days.
Yeah, that's right. You excited for the Ducks? Big Ducks fan.
Yeah. They start in I believe 2 days, and I went on a couple season ticket package with some of the guys. So nice. Yeah, I'll be going to a few Ducks games.
Cool, man. Well, I was kind of in a weird position because I'm here stuck on the podcast trying to run the podcast at the same time trying to take notes on everything you're saying because it's such good knowledge. So excuse me for being a little delayed in my responses. I got a ton of notes on my paper pad in front of me that I got to get over to my computer. But again, Sean, thanks a lot, man. One more time, tell everybody where they can reach you if they need to, and we'll go ahead and sign off.
You can reach me, go to my website, www.calcagniegroup.com.
We really appreciate it, and you guys take it easy. We'll talk to you next time. What an informative interview with Sean. Really great to hear how he's been able to basically create his dream job and his dream life in such a short amount of time and be so successful while doing it. I currently have a project going with him, and I look forward to working with him more in the future. On to one of our weekly segments, and that's Realtor of the Week. This week's Realtor of the Week is Andrew Cinisone with the Zacuto Group in Century City. Recently, Andrew took a leap of faith and left a massive commercial real estate brokerage to start his own brokerage with a partner. This was mid-last year when the change happened. In Q4 of 2016, the Zacuto Group closed over $15 million in tenant representation transactions, which makes it pretty evident Andrew's gutsy decision to do his own thing paid off huge. And that's why he's been able to snag this week's top spot. Be sure to connect with him on Facebook, Andrew Cinisone, Sinasohn, and on Instagram, ASINASOHN. Let's get into our next weekly feature with Jerry's second Title Talk.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jerry Wu, and you are listening to Title Talk Tuesday. This is our second segment, and again, my name is Jerry with your title insurance specialist here at First American Title. So, really glad we're doing this again. And first of all, I wanted to say thank you to Ryan McMahon for putting on this show for you guys. Really thrilled and happy to have the opportunity to be on here. So this is, again, our second segment. The first time we are here doing this, we basically did an overview of what title insurance is. So if you haven't gotten a chance to listen to that yet, go ahead and go back, and you should be able to find the link and check that out real quick. It'll give you a quick understanding of what title insurance is, what we do, and the services that we provide. Now, for our second segment today, I thought we would touch on a subject um, that it's gonna be about reconveyances. Now, let me kind of give a little explanation before I kind of get into it and what a reconveyance is. First of all, um, let's talk about what a deed of trust is. Okay, so when you go out and let's say you're working with a lender, when you get a loan from this particular lender, that lender is going to put a lien on your house. Now, the way they put a lien on your house or your property is by recording on title what's called a deed of trust. Okay, so again, when you get a loan, the lender is going to put a lien on your property, and they're going to do so by recording a document that's called a deed of trust. Now, when we, as a title company, when we look in public records, when somebody asks us, hey, does this property have any open loans? We're looking for this particular deed of trust. Okay, now, when a deed of trust or when a loan gets paid off, the lender would then record what's called a reconveyance. So again, when we go back on the title chain and we're looking at this title chain and we're seeing, okay, are there any open loans? If we see an open deed of trust and then we see subsequently a reconveyance recorded, then we know that deed of trust or that loan has been paid off. Okay, so that's how we generally know how a loan has been paid off or if it's still showing opened. Very important if you think about it, right? Because that's how we're going to determine what loans will need to be cleared prior to transferring title to a new buyer. Because, of course, the new buyer doesn't want to get stuck with the previous owner's loan. Now, if you've ever seen a deed of trust, it's sometimes there's many pages, 20 plus pages, 30 pages even, okay? But if you ever seen a reconveyance document, it's generally just 1 or 2 pages. And here's really what I'm wanting to talk to you guys about is I'm going to kind of segue this into the topic of fraud. Because believe it or not, here in Southern California, we are the fraud capital of the country. I mean, there's so much title fraud going on now that it's become a real issue. And I really, truly, in my personal opinion, believe there is so much fraud going on because the way that we conduct a lot of real estate business, especially in my industry, title, transferring title and doing all these things is a very archaic way of doing things, right? Let's think about how we actually transfer title. I'm transferring title to John Smith. I mean, it's 2016. But even still, all I really need to do is get a document called a grant deed, sign this document in front of a notary, get it recorded, and now title has been transferred to John Smith. I mean, if you can imagine, I mean, that opens up a world of options for people that want to commit fraud. Okay, now let's kind of bring it back a little bit and go back to this reconveyance thing. Now, again, if you've ever seen a reconveyance document, it's a very simple document. It's usually just 1 or 2 pages. Very easy to forge. I hate to say it, I'm not putting any ideas in anybody's head, I'm hoping, but it's very easy to forge. So, what happens, right? What happened? Let me give you a story that happened. This is a little while back ago before we started catching on to what people were doing. So essentially, to make a long story short, there was this gentleman years ago that was going out and getting loans. So he would get this loan. A deed of trust would be recorded against the property. And then what he would do is forge a reconveyance and then get that reconveyance recorded. Well, next thing you know, we look at the title chain and it looks like he owns the house free and clear. What do you think he does next? He goes and gets another loan. He gets another loan, then he reconveys that loan. And then he does it again. He'll go out and get another loan and then reconvey that loan. And this became a pattern, right? So long story short, this person was eventually caught. And of course, people took legal actions against him and so forth. But imagine what happened when all these lenders started foreclosing on the loans. I mean, you got 4 or 5 lenders on this one property thinking they're all in first position. and all wanting to get the home or the house back when they're foreclosing it. So, one of the things that title companies do today to combat this type of particular fraud is anytime that we see a loan get reconveyed and we don't see a second loan come in to pay off that first one, we're going to question it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a loan on your house with ABC lender and you owe $200,000. And you just happen to have $200,000 laying around one day, and then you decide to pay off that loan, that mortgage, request a payoff statement, get a payoff statement that says 200,000, you wire 200,000, boom, you own your house free and clear. And then the lender, what they're going to do is get a reconveyance recorded. Okay, anytime we see a reconveyance that gets recorded like that, we're going to question it. And it's not because it's impossible that people pay off a 30-year mortgage in 5 years or 6 years or 7 years. It just doesn't happen very often. Okay, most of the time people refinance, gets a second loan or another loan to pay off their existing loan. So again, not entirely impossible, it just doesn't happen very often. You add that to the fact that what I told you about all the fraud cases that's happened, and we basically want to make sure we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's. So how do you, as a homeowner, or let me bring it back, how do we actually verify this? Well, a lot of the times when you actually go and sell the house later on down the road after you've paid off your home free and clear, the title company is going to see this reconveyance and they're going to say, hey, homeowner, I know that you paid off this loan, but I'm going to need some proof to really know you paid it off. And of course, the homeowner, the first thing they're going to say is, well, I have this reconveyance document. Well, the title company is going to say, I'm sorry, that's not enough. Do you have anything else? And at that point, you hopefully will have a letter from the lender thanking you for the business. A lot of the times when you pay off an existing loan, the lender will send you a letter that says, thank you for your business, congratulations on paying off your loan, et cetera, et cetera. That will work. Sometimes a wire receipt will work. When you wire the money to the lender, a lot of different things, documentations outside of that, a copy of the reconveyance will work. So my point is, if you do pay off an existing mortgage and you didn't get a refinance, you didn't get another loan to pay it off, keep all your documentation, keep everything, okay? Because that's how title companies are going to verify certain things, such as this example that I'm talking about with reconveyances. So again, point to the story. If you pay off an existing mortgage, if you pay off an existing loan, please keep all documentations. Please keep all letters from the lenders. Please keep receipts because, trust me, one day you might need it. So that's my segment today. For today, again, this is Jerry Wu, your title specialist here for Title Talk Tuesday. Hope you enjoyed this segment and have a great week.
Thank you, Jerry, for continuing to keep us safe while we operate out in the field. And yeah, keep us out of lawsuits. We can't bring you guys great content without feedback. Positive or negative, you gotta let us know so that we can make the adjustments and bring you guys what you want to hear. Whether that's on the platform you're listening, iTunes, SoundCloud, Libsyn, Blueberry, etc. Whatever it is, email, social media, whatever's most convenient for you, we'll meet you there. Just let us know. Start talking, we'll listen, we'll talk back. Always remember, our website is our major content hub. It's updated weekly with a ton of fresh new audio and video. It's the best place to find new episodes and episode segments on their own. Video and exclusive subscription-only interviews are also available there with signing up. That's the best place to find transcripts of shows and info of our guests as well. That concludes episode 2 of the most interesting show in real estate. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening, and hopefully learning a couple things. Take care, tuck your kids in, kiss your parents. It's a crazy world. Talk to you guys next week.